when you race, you need to take emotion out of it. But in training, it's different. I think the level of training and the level of intensity, you don't get it from normal training. It's something that you have to go to a really dark place.
Sean Noble, HYROX world champion and former Irish League footballer, best known for redefining endurance through sheer discipline and mental grit. Dominating global fitness competitions, Sean proves that reinvention isn't just possible, it's powerful.
There's always going to be that option in your brain, little niggle, where you can give up. I'm terrified of that.
It's all about how we face whatever's in front of us or whatever that demon is, and use it to either drive us or use it to hold us back.
I ruptured my ACL, LCL, my hamstring, and then the surgeon said you're just better off getting hit by a truck. I made a promise to my father that I was going to be Elite 15 world champion. I'm not in it for the money, I'm not in it for likes on Instagram. It's just a goal that I set. If I ever do become,
Don't say if.
when I become Elite 15 world champion, I will walk away.
Sean Noble, how are you?
I'm good, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming in. The most I expected training gear, so I kind of said I can go in my training gear, and you come in a shirt, so you've completely knocked me out of the park already.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. I only realised 2 minutes ago that you were actually a solicitor as well as everything, or trainee solicitor, is that correct?
Correct, yeah. I qualify in 5 months, so. But now I have to have a conversation with my partner. It might be a bit of a sabbatical now in January. I might go all in and see.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah.
Get your qualification.
Yeah, no, 100%.
The old man talk.
I've been years and years training, so yeah, qualifying in January, looking forward to qualifying. And
get your qualification across the board. You're straight in off the plane, literally from Chicago, where you won your age category in what was a very, very competitive field with a whole load of, I don't know, everything from AstroTurf to sleds and shoulder charges. There's a lot to talk about, and you can't debunk from the whole thing. But you had a good weekend, and you must be very proud of yourself.
yeah, I think, like, I know I've ran quicker times, but anyone that competed on that course would know that that is a serious time for that course. I was on course, I ran a 57:03. I was on course for 55. And then I kind of faded towards the end, which I put down to lost a lot of weight, and my energy wasn't there towards the back half of the race. Now, I felt phenomenal at the start, but it's a give and take, you know. But I was very happy with that performance. Yeah.
Yeah, you're someone I've followed on Instagram since Dublin. I was there when you won in Dublin, and you could see obviously huge potential there based on your time and everything else. Like, you've been a phenomenal success. But not without its fair share of controversy and fair share of highs and lows.
Yeah.
What age are you, Sean?
I'm just 29.
Yeah, so you've taken it all obviously in your stride. You've got a good grounding, a good support crew around you. I'm interested to dive into that a little bit more today as well. But briefly, for those of you, so this Find Your Edge is about people in all walks of life who are living to their full capacity, whether it's in business or whether it's in science or whether it's art or whatever else that is. So if someone was to sit down and not know who you were, how would you describe yourself?
I'd say I'm, like, for anyone that meets me, they say I'm kind of genuine, authentic. I kind of say what's on my mind, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'll never, backstab anyone. I'm very authentic. That's who I am as a person, and sometimes it gets me in trouble.
Like, yeah, but I like that. You do come across there. That authenticity is a huge thing, and something that, in missing a lot. I think people are, trying to have this facade of what's going on, but there's an authentic side there that comes through. As I said, straight back in from World Championships after completing the 57:03. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Was that your time?
Yeah.
What's your fastest ever time?
I ran Dublin in the Pro 55:30, and then I ran in Glasgow 56:02, and then they gave me a 10-second penalty, so I got 56:12. So that was my third fastest time.
Unbelievable times, and you're talking about 10 seconds being the difference between being an Elite 15 athlete and not getting to where you want to get. So that sort of time is huge, and there's a load to delve into about the training. But how do you juggle? The only time we could get you here was 6:30 in the evening because you were working and you jumped on a bike and cycled out of town. How do you balance that professional career with, what's at the moment a semi-professional fitness career?
Yeah. Well, that's my biggest problem at the moment is time. I don't have enough time, and I also have a partner that I'm engaged to, and I can't turn around and say, listen, I'm finished work, I'm going training for 4 hours, and then I'm going to sleep, and then I'm waking up and repeating the same thing. So my biggest thing is training and balance family life. I've sacrificed a lot. I don't see a lot of my family, to be honest with you, because I'm training. I only have a very limited amount of time. So I just have to make sacrifices. I have to wake up early sometimes and do hard sessions in the morning before work because, I might not have the opportunity of doing it after work. Like when I'm really like before Chicago, I was really cranking it and I was getting in like 2-3 sessions a day while I was working nearly 10 hours a day. So I had no time for anything else really. And then it's a lot of sacrifice. I don't go out drinking. I don't, socialize. Like that's the honest
Well, you
truth.
socialise in a different way.
A different way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did you discover HYROX?
So it was actually my sister's boyfriend, Hamza. Give him a shout out. I was boxing actually in the local boxing gym in Cardiff. And I got into running and fitness through that. I was doing a bit of cross training because boxing's very anaerobic. And he was
my fair share of it, yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't a professional boxer. I boxed on one show. I was a novice, but like I fell in love with like fitness through that, I'd say. And then I got like big into running, and I started running decent times for in very quick success, like quick time. Like so, I was running a 10K in say 39 minutes after maybe 3 or 4 months of running, basically, And then now 39 minutes is not that quick now.
No, but it's good for a beginner.
Yeah, for a beginner, yeah. But at the time, and he was like, "Why don't you try HYROX?" And then I started getting quicker and quicker, and I signed up to Glasgow then, and I got my ass handed to me in my first pro. I got humbled, and then since then I've just obsessed about this.
What year was that?
2023.
Jeez,
February. 2023.
So you're fresh to it still.
Yeah, about 2 hours. What was it 2? Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. Do you play football as well?
This episode of Find Your Edge is brought to you by Hedgehogs vs. Foxes, a video production studio crafting bold, cinematic content for brands in lifestyle, corporate, events, and more. Visit us at hvf.ie to learn more.
So I played League of Ireland. I played underage international for the Republic of Ireland. I played up the north, and that's where I had a 3-year contract. And I think it was the second game of the season. I ruptured my ACL, LCL, my hamstring, and then the surgeon said you're just better off getting hit by a truck.
Okay, so walk away from it.
So yeah, I went out. I basically went on the piss for a year. I ballooned up in weight, and that's why I got involved then in boxing, just literally to lose weight. That's all it was.
Okay. So what age were you when you started boxing?
23.
So this is all like your career only really got going in the latter stages. That's very interesting. And so really you've been involved in sport for a long time. Was your dad involved in sport as well? Is that the influence, or where does that come from?
Yeah, so my dad is basically, he's a big part of my story. So my dad suffered from brain cancer, and I developed OCD guilt after he passed away, because I had a lot of, I wish I spoke to him in certain times, and I wish I said things, and I don't know, it just played on my mind, and I used fitness as a means of escape. I say this to everyone, like the level of training, I don't believe very few people in the world would have been training at the intensity I was training for about 4 or 5 months. And I went from say 63, 64 minute HYROX pro to like winning, events and putting in these times. And it wasn't normal training, and it's not something I can even replicate now, because I'm not suffering from the same thing that I was. And sometimes I do, but when I was going through that was like the sessions I was, like I told someone, like one of the sessions I went in one day, literally just walked into the gym, and I put the treadmill at 3-minute 30 kilometer pace. I ran for 15K. I got off. I skied 5 kilometers. I finished that. I put 260 kg on a sled. I pushed it for 10 minutes. Then I did 100 wall balls that pro way. And then I couldn't even like stand up. I had to sleep before going home really. So like no one is doing that. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna.
It's not structured training, perhaps.
It wasn't structured at all. It was just and what it was I just wanted to sleep at night. I just wanted to go home, and I was so tired. I just wanted to go to bed and sleep. And
did you call it OCD grief?
It was OCD guilt.
Guilt.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't sure. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Is that like a diagnosed state of kind of?
It's kind of self-diagnosed, to be honest with you. But I've been kind of researching it and kind of trying to figure out what was going on, because there was a lot of things going on in my life, and like people that are close to me know I was going through a lot at the time. So, it seemed to be the OCD guilt, yeah.
Having been around a lot of pro athletes and people at high levels, do you think that there's backstories like that are common? I know Hunter McIntyre, one of the most famous probably HYROXers in the world, like would talk about his past of he used to drink and do drugs and box. That was his thing or something like that. Like, and he obviously went through periods of an exercise. He found exercise found him, and I think he was an obstacle course racer and did all that sort of stuff in Spartan races. That's what kind of got him out of a bit of a hole in his life. Do you see that story happening a lot?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the top athletes, they have their own backstory. Like you look at like Tyson Fury in boxing, and you look at all these, like I think sometimes like the level of training and the level of intensity, you don't get it from normal training. It's something that you have to go to a really dark place, and you don't get it from just going in and saying, right, this is a program that I have to follow. Sometimes like when you race, I'm a firm believer you need to take emotion out of it. It's tactical. Like, but in training it's different. I think if you have emotion, if you have this dark, you know, into that dark kind of place, you'll go through a wall if you have to sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and you'll find that people will say that, and people will say the exact opposite, that they can't go into the gym because of it. So I think it's all about how we face whatever's in front of us, or whatever that demon is, and use it to either drive us or use it to hold us back. You know, or allow it to hold us back. And obviously you've taken the right steps with it, and you're leaning into it. Dealing with family, like you said, family life, a career, and all the rest of it is huge, and stress is a massive part of it. But I saw your Whoop, a screenshot of your Whoop before the racing weekend. You've a HRV of 170 something, right?
Yeah, I think I knew I was on for a good race when
I was like, oh, this guy's going to do something here.
Yeah, everyone, when they saw that, they were like, I think my resting heart rate was 33.
Yeah.
And my HRV was like 17.
17
something, I can't remember. Which is, it doesn't necessarily always equate to fitness.
But you're prepped.
Yeah, it's a good sign. And like, I know my resting heart rate, like, so when I was about, I think I was 91 kg about 6 weeks ago, I lost 8 kilos. My resting heart rate was around 40, 41. And
that's
then
massive.
And it just dropped. It just, because my body wasn't working as hard, I had less weight on it, so it just dropped by 8 beats. And then I was doing my running sessions, and it was before Chicago. I knew I was on for a good race because I did a run, like an interval run that I usually do, and I was 10 seconds quicker per kilometer, and my heart rate was 10 beats lower. On average. So I knew.
Massive.
Yeah.
What's your HRV usually sitting at? Or do you track it a lot? I know you're Whoop, and Whoop sponsors you obviously for the sponsor Team Ireland for the
relay. I am a big believer in HRV. It's usually not that high. It was particularly high because I think I just peaked for that race.
Yeah, you did well.
But I think it's around the 140 kind of mark.
Yeah, and you work with Sean, is that correct? Is it Sean who you have?
Sean Canan, yeah.
Yeah, you've done some work with him. Has that been beneficial for you?
Yeah, I'd highly recommend for anyone that, like, you know,
lads have done it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so basically Sean brought me in. It's actually funny because he brought me in after when I first started HYROX. Now nobody even heard of me. He didn't hear me. Didn't know who I was. He just brought me in, did a VO2 max test. And then before the Leaf 15 race, then before Dublin, he started working with me, and he started advising me on nutrition because I wasn't fueling myself properly. And then for the first time in my career, I was like, okay, if I eat these carbs, if I cut out this is going to help me, and it made a world of difference.
Yeah.
And then he brought me in, and we did a VO2 max test before Glasgow. And he was showing me my zones, and like, it's so helpful because now when I'm training, I wear a heart rate monitor and see my zones.
So you do a lot of heart rate zone training?
Only in training. I don't do it for races because
you know, again, you need to take that emotion out of it and not be worrying about where that is. So a lot of your training's heart rate based?
Very heart rate based, yeah.
Even, do you do strength work?
I do. Everyone asks me that question because when I put online, I don't share a lot of strength, but like anyone that like even watched me in Chicago, I dominate on the sleds. It's always
but you're a big lad as well, like a heavy HYROXer, I guess.
Yeah, I would have been one of the heaviest in Elite 15 in Glasgow, but I lost weight. I probably would be average now, but I carry a lot of strength is more from like body weight strength because I'm decent at pull-ups and push-ups and stuff like that, and grip strength, but it's not necessarily like
doesn't translate.
Yeah, but it's also not like 3 rep max on a back squat or a bench. I'd be fairly mediocre in that, but it'd be more on muscle endurance, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever tried CrossFit? You said cross training, but not CrossFit, right?
No, my sister was trying to get to the games for a while, so I went in to their gym in Blanchardstown.
What's her name?
Kaylee Noble. She never got to that level. She actually, she's big into HYROX.
Brilliant.
Funny enough, I think everyone's come across, but like, I went into their gym, and this is before I was doing HYROX, and they were doing like kind of a CrossFit kind of workout. And like I couldn't do some of it, like they were doing kind of like clean
high skill stuff.
Yeah, high skill stuff. I couldn't do some of it, so I kind of like, I thought of it like if I wanted to be like, I never had an interest in CrossFit, but now thinking about it, it would take me a long time to develop that skill set, you know.
Yeah, and that was the challenge. That's what appealed to me. I've had lots of upper body injuries, neck injuries and stuff like that. So when I came to put my hands over my head, it was always a challenge. And being involved in CrossFit, I was involved in CrossFit in 2006 and 2007 and stuff like that. But that was always the limiting factor, was the skill base. Yeah. So when I saw HYROX come out, I was like, this is perfect. You just have to dig in and do grunt work and deal with pain, which is what it really, it's the difference between the good and the great, is how well you can deal with being uncomfortable. Do you feel like when it comes to dealing with that discomfort in a race, when it comes to going dark and going deep, you have strategies in your head, you've worked on that. Have you ever like, you know, have you ever kind of sat down and went, this is how I do that? Or do you just do it and not think about it?
Yeah, like I've been very vocal about this online, and I reckon you get between 5 to 10% from your mental strength. And I think I overachieve big time, not just saying this, but I think I definitely overachieve in HYROX because I can just hang on for dear life. I'm known to just hang on. In very difficult moments, I'll pull through, and that obviously comes from personal experience. I'm a believer in that. I'm a believer if you break once, there's always going to be that option again. Now, of course, people break when they hit their breaking point, but I mean, if you break before you absolutely, you know, can't go anymore. I believe there's always going to be that option in your brain, little niggle, where you can give up. So I'm terrified of that. So I always say, hang on.
So I worked with an international athlete before that gave me that exact line on a 100-kilometer ultra marathon, and he was passing blood, puking, all that stuff. So just stopped me and goes, no, if we do that once, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And he finished the race, and he actually placed as a result of it, our Team Ireland placed as a result of him finishing. He went through 30K, which is 30% of a race, where he was like, he should have been in an ambulance and he just would not stop. He said, if I do it once, I'll do it again. It's so funny that you use that line basically the same way. Once you give yourself that opportunity, you'll keep going for it. It's very true. Do you ever struggle with motivation, or are you just constantly motivated to?
No, definitely. Like there's been times where I go to the gym and like I've had a hard day in work and I'm tired, I've had no sleep, and I'm just like flat, completely flat. But like obviously, like the thing that really motivates me, to be honest with you, is I made a promise to my father after he passed away, that I was going to be Elite 15 world champion, and I'm motivated to keep going until I achieve that goal. So that's what's motivating me.
Wow.
To be honest with you, I wish I didn't make that promise because it's so hard. And like, to be honest with you, continuing working is going to be very difficult to achieve that, especially the way the sport's going with people that are coming in. But yeah, that promise is kind of kept me going. And
how long ago is it since your dad passed away?
He died November 2023. Yeah.
And is you and your sister?
Brother as well.
Brother as well.
Yeah.
Where do you come in the family?
I'm the eldest.
So you kind of feel like you're bearing the weight of everything on your shoulders?
Yeah, like to be honest with you, it's more, so my mother has lost her husband and her own mother and father within this 2-year space, so it's difficult for her. And I feel the biggest thing right now I feel very guilty about is like, I want to be there for my mom, and I'm always training because I'm working, then I go train. So she's a widow, she doesn't have her mother to talk, she doesn't have, you know, her own father, so I feel like I want to be there for her. So there's a lot of sacrifice that needs to be made, and like, to be honest with you, if I ever do become,
don't say if,
when I become Elite 15 world champion, I will walk away. I'm not in it for the money, I'm not in it for likes on Instagram. It's just a goal that I set, and I don't, you know, plan on staying up the top and being one of the best ever. It's just, that's the goal I have, and I'm you know, honed in on achieving that. And then I want to spend time with family because this takes up everything, you know.
Yeah, it's a massive sacrifice, and anytime we set a big goal, the lads at board listening to me saying this, because I feel like I say it in every podcast, but it's like, what are you prepared to give in exchange for that goal? It's such a big thing, and the sacrifices become very real as you get older and family and other things come into play. But it sounds like you're someone, I mean, you're doing an amazing job. I'm sure your dad would be extremely proud of everything you are achieving, and there's a nation of people who just seem to absolutely love everything you do. So I'm really feel very honoured to have you here, for that reason, because it'll be in a number of years when we're all there, you know, cheering you on, and looking at you on the podium. It'll be a proud moment for everyone. With training and digging in and finding that motivation and stuff like that, do you think that you possess, and I'm kind of asking you the same question, but do you think that you possess something special, or do you think that anyone can achieve what you're achieving if they can find how to tap into that motivation and that from a mental standpoint, not even from a numbers or anything else like that, but the capacity to dig in and train when the going's tough and all that sort of stuff? Do you think of something special that you've learned, or is that just something that people are just not prepared to tap into?
I think, to be honest with you, when I was younger, I used to think I had something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't put my finger on it. And I remember going into the boxing gym, and I remember Pascal that runs Quarto Boxing Gym, and I wasn't that talented boxer, but he was like, Sean's a very hard worker. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, I just work really hard. and I never give up. That's the only thing that I have. You know what I mean? What do I have? All I have is hard work, and I don't give up. And that's, for me, is you either have it or you don't. You can't teach someone, you know, are you motivated? Can you dig in at times? Because people, I believe, if you break, like I said, you're always going to break. You have this kind of innate nature to you. So I believe it's an individual thing, but it can be learned through experience. If you go through difficult moments, so like, it's not like, okay, I messed up once and I gave up and that's it. I can't ever achieve something. I think if you overcome that by doing something very difficult and not giving up, then you can build on that, and then you can become.
It's a muscle that you train.
Exactly.
It's like training muscle, learning to overcome that. Amazing. The HYROX World Championship, because I feel like we could get very dark about the motivation and all of that stuff, and I don't want to let it go, because you're just back from such a fantastic high of an amazing event, and the trajectory building up to this, you had that result which has been torn apart online about your dive over the line, your wall ball not counting, and we're not here to give out about anything like that and go down that road. That was a huge blow, and how you presented yourself after that was very admirable and very it was very elite in itself. To give, again, there's listeners here who don't even know what HYROX is, believe it or not, to give a quick synopsis, correct me if I'm wrong, you were finishing off wall balls. There was the wall balls where you squat down and throw a ball up against the station. There's a clock there now for the first time possibly ever. They have clocks counting each rep. You had to complete 100 reps. On 99, your judge waved you in as you hit the 100th rep, but the clock didn't change. You subsequently dived across the line, and there was a fingertip over the line before the next guy. So you qualified for the Elite 15s, correct? Me there. 2 days later, 3 days later, you get the call from HYROX saying, sorry, your clock didn't go to 100. Doesn't matter that your judge waved you across the line. You're not going to the Elite 15. A massive, massive blow for someone who has, aside from, some people it's a commercial drive or whatever, but something so emotionally driving you on such an emotional level to compete and to get that, to take a blow like that and to come out with your chin up and come out with a great statement is an amazing trait in somebody. Who is that guy, or where did that come from, or how is that learned? Because that doesn't come from hard work. And that doesn't come from hours in the gym. And that doesn't come from, that's obviously, was that a big decision you had to sit down and have a little chat with yourself about? How did you come out with your chin up in this, when the odds were against you like that?
Yeah, I think that, to be honest with you, I have to give my parents, that's how I was raised. Like, I'm a firm believer where, like, if something doesn't go your way, you don't cry about it. You just get on with it.
Work harder.
You work harder, exactly. Yeah, who cares? Work harder. That's my kind of mindset. Like, I haven't really spoke a lot about that incident because I said I just wanted to get on with training. But like, obviously I was devastated at the time. I got the phone call, you're right, 2 days later. And it was a very, I thought, trivial thing to pull up, and like, yeah, going back to, like, this is HYROX specific, but like, if you're gonna give someone a retrospective penalty for a missed wall ball when the judge said it was good, and they interviewed the judge, and the judge said, actually, no, his wall balls were perfect, but because the counter didn't go to 100, I could, in theory, go back and review his whole race and say, oh, that, I don't know, burpee
might have been not been perfect. There's another second.
Yeah, but that's not in my nature. And then I know HYROX now have come out and they're clarifying the rule book, and they're saying you can't dispute, as soon as the race is over, you can't dispute a movement. So I welcome that, because I don't like this retrospective penalty gig. It's not good for the sport. You don't want to finish a race and think I have to wait 2 days before I'm actually confirmed, But yeah, like, listen, there was no controversy. They made their rule and I moved on, and I actually get on well with head of Elite 15 is Matt, and get on well with him now. And at the time I obviously was very upset.
Understandably.
Because it's not only people, like, you have to remember I have a full-time job. That opportunity to race in the Elite 15 singles in the World Championship brings money, brings sponsorship, brings opportunities for me, So it was devastating when it happened, but look, it is what it is. I'm a firm believer things happen for a reason. I'm going to use that and fuel me going forward,
Yeah, and that's clear. Was Malaga the next attempt?
No, Barcelona.
Barcelona was the next attempt, and that one you just blew up on the day.
I have a lot of reasons as to why. I don't give excuses. I was beaten by better men on the day, but I put on a couple of kilos.
Yeah.
I was a bit upset after Glasgow, and I changed my training. I went very aerobic, very zone 2 base. I thought, I'll be honest with you, I thought I had all this high intensity in the bag, and I was going to just do a little bit longer, a bit more volume, and I was going to be able to perform. I put on weight. I was eating a little bit too much, to be honest. But when I went out on the day, I knew after the first lap I was in big trouble because my heart rate was at threshold. When it doesn't get to threshold, like in Glasgow, for example, I wasn't at threshold until...
What's threshold for you?
174 is my threshold heart rate. 174, 175.
So when you're racing, do you look at your heart rate there?
Yeah, sometimes I have a little
Just
look.
on your watch.
Yeah, but now I don't go by it. If I'm at 180, I'll keep going.
It's one of many factors you use,
But usually, like, when I have a little glance at it, like, I'm never ever anywhere near that until probably the pull, after the pull maybe, and I was at it straight away. And that's because, like, I'm 82 kilos now, 83 kilos. In Barcelona, I was nearly 90.
It's massive difference.
It's, you know,
regardless if it's muscle or fat or anything
carrying
else,
8 kilos extra around
makes a massive difference.
And guys that would have beaten me in Barcelona and would have beaten me in races, I beat by a good bit. And I'm not that much fitter in a very short space of time. I've beaten them before when I was in Dublin, for example. I weighed the same, 84. But if you put an extra couple of kg, and it's a predominantly running sport, let's be honest.
No, it's monstrous to carry around with you.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got the call up to captain Team Ireland for the relay. You competed yourself. You had a massive weekend, which is, you know, we were all breathing a sigh of relief when we saw that the weekend went well for you, because you deserved it. How did that feel, stepping onto the podium and hearing the national anthem?
Oh, it was unbelievable. To be honest with you, that was up there with, like, obviously when I qualified in Glasgow, that was up there on my, you know, probably biggest high in sport. But after that, I'd say that obviously probably is my biggest high in sport. It was unbelievable, because I was thinking in 1 hour I'm going to get out and captain my country after being named world champion, you know, and have my national anthem played. And I was starving myself for 4 weeks to get into that kind of shape. And I was eating jellies and stuff. I love this.
You're just, that is a great feeling. There's nothing like it. You talk about food a huge amount, and there's a lot of weight cutting. Is that come from boxing, or does that come from just, you know, you need to get your weight down? And
trial and error. And like, I'm like, see, there's a lot of people in the Elite 15 that, like, Elite 15 lads talk about this, but they don't put it out there on social media. I say what's going on in my life, and I everyone knows, you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve. The Elite 15 guys, they would do the same. They cut weight. Like, I'll give an example. Graham Halliday, Scottish. Me and him get on well, but I know he cut down to, I think, 80 kg.
And what would he walk around at?
He would have been, I don't know, 85, 86 maybe.
Big. That's a big drop.
You cut down a couple of kg as well, and he looked in good shape.
Hard to do that and still keep glycogen in your system.
Yeah, but I think
get that balance right.
He had a longer period of time to do it than I did, but still, and he was running like 120k a week, 110k a week. So, and he was doing all HYROX movements on top of that. So it's a lot, you know.
Daily habits or routines that keep you at your best physically, mentally, aside from exercise. You're tracking what's going on from a recovery point of view. You're watching your food. Have you any other little tricks up your sleeve that I need to take note of?
To be honest with you, like, just drinking water. Like, people don't drink enough water.
No, they definitely don't.
So that's one thing.
How much do you drink per day?
I'll probably have about 2 to 3 litres easily. Per day, like, probably more, to be honest with you. Now, but I just make it a habit every day when I sit there at my desk, just to even put my waddy and just put water in.
Just to get the fluid in.
Just get fluids in.
Big time.
I find drinking more water definitely helps. And like, when I was cutting weight, funny enough, weirdly enough actually, drinking my waddy kind of suppressed my appetite a little bit. My body, I don't know why, but I was drinking a lot more.
When you're getting sugar, so you're getting some sort of fix.
Something.
You're not craving. In your experience, what separates those who succeed from those who plateau in the Elite 15? And I'm putting you in the Elite 15 category, in the Elite 30, if that's such a thing. What's, for those who are plateauing and those who are succeeding, what's different?
I just think they go the extra step. Like, for example, in Chicago, I thought about this after the race, and I was like, what's different between me and someone that came 15th in that race? And, you know, 4 weeks ago, we were neck and neck in Berlin when I had a terrible race. And I was thinking they wouldn't go that extra step where they're starving themselves to get into shape, or they wouldn't go the extra step in those sessions before Glasgow or before Like who would put themselves on a start line in Glasgow after suffering? I was told it was a borderline grade 3 ligament tear. I wasn't going to be able to walk for 8 weeks, and then I'm competing Elite 15 after 5, and I was told I'm mad. Like people don't hear that, you know what I mean? So
We never brought that up, the ankle.
yeah, the ankle. Yeah, there were 28 million views on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remind me of that in Vegas.
So in Vegas was the first. So I qualified twice for Elite 15,
Yeah.
Vegas and Glasgow. So in Vegas, that was the best shape of my life. Still, I'm still gutted I couldn't show people the running in particular. There's a Mick Daly, shout out Mick Daly, who runs Anatomic. Me and him are doing sessions, and he'll tell you for Vegas, because he knows we train together a lot. Some of the running times would have been up there with some of the top guys, you know. But anyway, it was meant to be. So in Vegas, yeah, it was the day before. I was a new guy. They were introducing me to the American audience. I was doing interviews like outside of Bellagio or HYROX, and like I was absolutely like couldn't wait.
Cloud nine.
Oh, I was on cloud 9. And then I went back to my hotel, and I said to my partner, I'm going to go down to the gym and do a shakeout workout. And this is kind of late, and I would have been severely jet lagged. It would have been like 4 or 5 in the morning in Dublin. So I did a run, felt great. I got on the rower, and I was a little bit lighter then as well. And I knew, because my rowing time was very strong, and I dropped weight, that I was on for a good race. So I got up and I was like, right, let's go up to the bedroom. We're good to go. And then I said, a little niggle in my head, do a few burpees. And I went back, and I did, ironically enough, I got to 13. And on the 13th one, I landed, and my ankle just went the other way. And I got up. For people that don't know, I actually qualified for that race, raced on a sprained ankle in Frankfurt.
No way.
So I thought it was going to bounce back the same way. No, it was a grade 1 strain. It wasn't a big strain. And then I got up, and I literally couldn't walk. I took off my shoe. I knew something was up. And for anyone that saw it, was, yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah. And yeah, it's actually a mad story. Mike Tyson's surgeon ended up looking after me that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have surgery? You didn't have surgery?
No. So I rang a guy. He's a professional tennis player, Irish guy in Vegas. And beforehand, he was racing HYROX himself, and he was like, if you need anything, let me know. So I got quoted like $1,000 to go out to a hospital, and I rang him anyway, and he got through to this surgeon who said, listen, he's Irish, bring him in, do it for free. And
No way.
Yeah, so he sorted me out. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, you've moved on from that anyway. You've obviously got elite healing power as well as everything else like that.
Yeah.
Dealing with criticism, because as I said, half of the country or 90% of the country seems to be behind you, but there's always the 5 or 10% that having a comment, a negative one. Is that water off a duck's back, or do you let it in?
Yeah, like, so at the start of my career, I was heavily criticized, let's be honest. And like it's crazy how, like, even in Chicago, the support I got from Irish people, and not even Irish people, like Americans, French, everyone. I was like phenomenal. So I think people can see when someone is real and they're authentic. And like, I got criticism, just said, like in Dublin, for example, I remember someone coming up to me and they asked me, did you learn your lesson? And they were talking about an incident in lunges, when I got a penalty for lunging. And I said, come back to me in an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then I ran a 55:30.
Yeah.
But everyone didn't think I had that in me. And I was like out to show people, and then people were like, let's see him in Elite 15. And then I raced in Elite 15. I did well in Elite 15. And then now everyone's like, no, he's legitimate. You know, I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not earned, and I understand that.
I think it's hard to win over an Irish audience, and I've saw that with CrossFit and different sports. Like we've this begrudgery piece to us at the start, but like then all of a sudden someone wins the heart of everybody, and you know, there's a nation behind you. We've spoken about balancing careers and fitness and all of that end of it now, but like realistically, for you to go to the next level, you're talking about probably you're gonna have to make some sort of change, right? Is that fair to say? You've got your you know, January, you said, is when you qualify?
Yeah.
So will you go full on at HYROX? Can you go any more full on at it?
It's a conversation I'll have to have with my partner. Now I'm lucky enough to have sponsorship. I'm coaching as well. I'm doing seminars, so I have a stream of income that's coming in. But again, it would be, you know, a shot in the dark. It's not a proven sport, let's be honest. In terms of money and revenue, it's quite new. But I think in order for me to get to that next level, I probably have to go down that route. But in terms of training, I have ideas, things I need to do to get to that level. I need to, you know, a little bit more volume at certain times, a little bit more strength, probably some injury prevention stuff. And people have to remember, I'm only 2 years in fitness as well. These guys, I'm racing against a guy called Emilio from Spain. He's Spanish champion triathlon. He's running 305s, no problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're the guys that I'm against. So
Yeah.
he's got 25 years of professional sports behind him as a professional athlete, you know? So, yeah.
On HYROX, I mean, its trajectory's kind of gone. I actually signed up for my first HYROX just before COVID in Hamburg, but couldn't go because of the travel ban. So like back then I was like, oh, this sounds great, we'll try it out. And it's just kind of gone like this.
Yeah.
I feel like, nothing against HYROX, I feel like there's cracks starting to appear.
Yeah.
The AstroTurf on the weekend, I just think that the growth has been so astronomical that they're not able to deal with that properly. The price of it, the cost of entry for support for spectators and stuff like that. I feel like I'm starting to see some negative stuff starting to kick in there. But where do you see it going the next 5 years? Just to quote, the founder has said he wants it to become an Olympic sport. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I actually spoke to the guys that own the company even in Chicago, and it's like, yeah, like they seem to be, they know their stuff. They built something that's exceptional. But in terms of where it's going to keep growing. I think for the next 5 years, people will complain, but they're still going to sign up and they're still going to buy. Like, the sport is just, like HYROX itself, the brand is just out there. Everyone knows about it. Like, it's breaking into India, it's breaking into all the, China, all these markets.
Emerging markets, yeah.
So I think it's just going to keep growing. But in terms of like problems, it's always going to have problems with the exponential growth. It's grown probably too quick for, people that they have in place there. They probably need to employ more people. I think the turf is something that they need to get right.
Yeah.
They really need it. Like, it suits me. I love it because I'm strong.
It stung me.
Yeah. It suits me because I'm very strong on the sleds, and like, I remember pushing that sled, and like, I've trained really, really heavy sleds, and like, I'm racing in the E15 and I struggled on the sled push, and I was thinking, oh God, people that are just like, say they've qualified through an open, they're going to really struggle on that.
Yeah.
And like, it shouldn't be like, it should be the case where if it is like that, it has to be consistent all the time.
Across the board, yeah.
Because then people can prepare for it and they're like, listen, maybe I'm not strong enough for the sled push, or then whatever. But if it's variations in lanes, that's where it really gets messy.
Yeah, and that's always been the case though.
Yeah.
I raced Hamburg the first year I raced it. I tried to pull the sled and it literally just wouldn't move.
Yeah.
And I moved to a different sled,
Yeah.
and there was a substantial difference between them. And I've seen that video that I think was Ray Shar, somebody shared, of someone trying to push it and then going up like 6 lanes and then they're just shoving the prowler and it moves. So like, these are definitely the things that are huge. And like, people have invested a huge amount of their energy, time, money and everything in going away for this big weekend. It can be such a big blow to get there and go, I just can't move this sled.
Yeah.
Look, enough about the sled. What about the little shoulder charge with Hunter McIntyre?
Well, like, again, I'm happy it's nothing to do with me this time. No controversy. But obviously I was captain of the Irish team and there's an Irish athlete involved. But I'll be honest with you, like, after the race, like, I didn't see the incident when I was racing because I wasn't watching the screen. And then I heard about it and I was kind of like, oh yeah, like, didn't really know a lot about it. And then I left and went back to my hotel room. My partner showed me the video, and then I got a call because my phone wasn't working. I didn't have Wi-Fi. Got a call saying that HYROX are asking you to come back for a meet.
Oh no, not again.
Like, oh, what's going on now? And then they explained what was happening. So, and I was just accompanying because obviously Jeremy was involved, the Hunter, and I was the captain. So they were just the captain was just being there, and like, I made no comment on the incidents, but I did say I come from contact sports, so that was my thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, but to be honest with you, I'm not a believer in retrospective penalties.
Yeah.
But the problem with it is, like, I can understand where they're coming from in the sense of you can't have someone going around shoulder checking people. But I believe they would have won the race anyway.
Yeah, of course they would have.
They would have won the race. So for me, I think it's wrong. I don't think you should take away the prize money to win from them. If you want to punish them, maybe punish Hunter himself individually, because you're taking 12 grand from athletes that's huge for them. It could be the difference between them competing next year and not doing it. So I believe that's wrong, and I didn't like that,
Yeah. What would you say to anyone who wants to get into HYROX on a competitive level? So like, there's lots of, the beauty of HYROX, I remember again, one of the first years I raced one, I was running around, and there was two ladies. They must have been in their 60s, and they were chatting away as they were walking, like they're power walking each one of the runs. And I thought, this is unbelievable. The barrier to entry is low. You can get in and enjoy it. But for someone who wants to really strive to be maybe elite 15 or the best version of themselves in their age group, etc., any advice you'd give now?
Yeah, I'd say you need to really hone in on lactate threshold training. I think people aren't educated on what they're doing, and they're actually training in gray areas. So like your body will respond to what you're doing. Like if you're stagnating, you're plateauing, you're doing something wrong. I'm a firm believer that if you train consistently at your lactate threshold, it will improve. And you have a lactate threshold on all the stations. So for example, to give people approximate, if you run for an hour, your average per kilometer pace is roughly your lactate threshold. Now, of course, you have to get tested, you get a prick in your ear, but just on average, without doing that. And then if you do intervals at that lactate threshold and hone in on it, your lactate threshold will go from, say, a 4-minute per kilometer pace to 350 to 345, and you'll go from like a 120 pro to 115, 110, because you have so much more energy on the stations, you know? Like I didn't get dramatically stronger on the sleds for Chicago. I just had more energy because my running got better, you know.
Yeah, and to do, you've done all your testing, so like it's important to not guess. I mean, max heart rates that your Garmin watch, for example, will give you is 220 minus your age. But what do you know what your max heart rate is in your testing?
Yeah, I think it's 194 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
it's actually close to my Garmin, to be honest.
Yeah, so I got tested in London, and my max heart rate was 210. But like, I'm 40, so it's like should be 180.
Yeah,
180 based on what Garmin gives you. So all your training zones can be moved around a lot. What does success mean to you now compared to when you first started? Still the same goal?
Yeah, like I'm obviously very results driven, and you know, I do review and I do look at myself based off results. But then there's also an element, like I say my hardest race was my first pro, to be honest with you. And when I think back, it was the effort I expended in that race was like so tough. And like I have to think sometimes results might not go my way, but all I can, you know, promise myself is I'm going to give effort. So as long as I do that, I'll be happy, you know. Like the one thing that really hurt me about Glasgow was it was a great performance, but I broke at 83. I broke at 83 wall vaults. And if I went unbroken, I qualify. You can always hold on for 17, you know what I mean? That hurt me, you know. So yeah, and the reason why I broke is because I heard Jake was on 90, so I thought he was finishing. So I broke, and then I was like hearing what the other guy was on, and I was like picking it back up, you know, going again. But still, I should have held on, and that hurts me. So
because your wall balls, you've a method to channel in and get focused on your wall balls now. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I use a mental trick on the wall balls. So there's some strategy involved for those people that are, you know, they like HYROX. So I pull my last run to go aerobic rather than anaerobic, because you can gain 10 seconds on the run, but you'll gain a minute on the wall balls.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I do a little mental trick where I never break until I hit 70. Now, obviously, that's very difficult to do in the pro, but like what I do is I do 30 or 35, and what I trick my brain and I tell myself I've only started. So when I'm at like 20, but I'm not at 20, I'm at 55. I'm like, Sean, stop being a little whimper. You can get 25, 30. Are you serious? Like people are here watching you. You can't even get to 25, 30. I kind of give out to myself. And then I get to 35, and then I break, and I'm like, oh, we're at 70 now. We only have one more set, and then I finish. Yeah,
so you're in your head. There's a lot of dialogue going on up there, and you're constantly coaching yourself through. Different people feel different things in a race or in an event. They're visual, they're audio, they switch off, they switch on, they talk, they go down. And I love hearing the different strategies. Any books, people, or experiences that have had a major impact on your personal growth?
Probably my partner, to be honest with you, has had a huge like people make my granddad as well. My granddad's from Finglas. He's lost his wife as well recently. And he slept on the floor while she had dementia, and he was like with her. And I look at that, and just people like that I respect, and I don't want to let down. So that's, you know, when I race and I think of like my granddad, and I think of my partner's sacrifice. So it's really people that have made a difference. Like there's not really books per se. It's more kind of experiences that I've had in my life. Yeah.
Do you suffer with fear at all? Do you ever?
Yeah, I do. Like, there's a lot of sometimes there's a lot of expectation sometimes when I race. Now, I know people say, oh, it's only HYROX, but it's important to me. It's my life at the moment, you know what I mean? I potentially want to build a career from this, and I feel like, you know, my family are looking at me, and I fear of doing, like Chicago, if I had a really bad race and people would be like, Sean's only peaked and raced and, you know, he's gone now, like he's not great anymore. So there's a lot of expectation. So fear of losing, the fear of failure is probably what drives me the most. So yeah, I'm not one to get nervous per se, but I do fear letting people down, and, you know, the expectation of doing well, and then the feeling of letting them down, that's my biggest kind of fear, you know.
It's a massive driver.
Big time, yeah.
That's so the fear of losing drives you more than the joy of winning, nearly.
Yeah, I don't really, like, the joy of winning is very like, it's not that long, it doesn't last that long. You know, you feel great for an hour and then you're like, right, what's next? Like when I won the age group, which was my goal, I was like, just want to be age group world champion. I've raced twice, and that was what I said after Glasgow or after Barcelona. I was like, listen, this could be a phenomenal year if I'm world champion. And after achieving that, I felt great for like an hour, and then I'm like, I should have been in the elite 15. I should have been racing in the elite 15.
Yeah.
I said, you know, and then I got annoyed. I was like, oh.
Do you practice visualization? Do you write down your goals? Do you journal things, or do you just have it in your head and that's all you need?
I'm a big believer in visualization. I think huge benefits from it. I visualize winning. I visualize like getting to the wall balls, how I feel, imagining getting no reps, you know, continuing going unbroken, stuff like that. Like I'm a huge believer. I think you can get so much strength from that. I do write down. I have my phone. I just put notes and I put little goals, and then I look at them like when I'm on flights or whatever. I have like 2 or 3 goals, and I just look at them and remind myself these are the goals you set. I achieved all the goals I set this year.
There you go. So something's right.
So I set I was going to win Dublin, going to qualify for Elite 15, and then I was going to be age group world champion, and I achieved all 3. So
have you set your goals for next year yet?
Yeah, like put them out there. So the goal is I want to qualify again for Elite 15, so that's back in, qualify for the World Championships and top 5 Elite 15 in the World Championships. There, that's my goal.
Brilliant. I've heard it here first. I didn't know that you put that out there. Savage. Be excited.
That's the first time I put it out there. I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've never put it out there before. So that's for next season. So qualify and then top 5.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
A couple of quick fire questions, because I know you're jet lag and you're coming from work and you're everything else like that. HYROX versus CrossFit. I think you've already answered that one.
Yeah.
Greatest fictional lawyer.
Harvey Specter.
It was always going to be.
Yeah.
Until when do you see yourself competing?
Until I win Elite 15.
Okay. Outdoor versus indoor competition. You haven't done this?
I did Berlin. I'll be honest. I was in terrible shape. I know it's only 4 or 5 weeks ago, but I was like 90 kg, and it was a lot easier, to be honest with you. So I'm going to say
outdoors.
Outdoors was
because of the temperature.
Yeah, it was.
A good rain though, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It wasn't rain when I was competing, but like it's dramatically easier because of the temperature.
Okay, and if you were to pick an athlete from any other sport, who would your dream HYROX partner be?
I said Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's a great answer.
Yeah.
HYROX is HYROX hybrid rock star. What rock stars would you like to see compete?
God, I don't know if I want to answer
it's a terrible question.
I'd love to. I know actually Lance Armstrong. He was my hero growing up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm very against doping, obviously.
Yeah.
But he still is. Yeah, still my hero. But I'd love to do a doubles with Lance Armstrong.
That's again a great answer.
Yeah.
Do you listen to music when you train?
Yeah, I've heard some people say it's cheating, but I do listen to music. I don't listen to it when I do sims though, because I don't have it.
You don't have it on the day.
Yeah.
And what do you listen to?
I'm very open with this.
Anyway.
Some days it could be Lana Del Rey. I'm big into Imelda May at the moment.
Oh, very good.
She's big on the list, so Imelda May, yeah.
Brilliant. What is the HYROX equivalent of Mike Tyson's "everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face"?
Probably everyone has a plan until they do wall balls at the end of the race.
Until I get to the wall balls, and then it's just hold on. What are your hobbies outside of law and sports?
I like shooting. Do a bit
no way. What sort of shooting?
I do clay pigeon shooting.
Same, yeah.
Rifle as well.
What's a rifle?
Ruger. I have an Ruger.
Yeah.
And a Lambert shotgun as well.
Yeah, I won't get into that, but yeah, where do you shoot?
Courtlock.
Shootout in Wicklow. That's where I grew up. Chat about that.
Yeah.
Has your career helped you win more arguments at home?
No, definitely not. HYROX has definitely lost me more arguments than won.
And your legal firm that you're with, how do they feel about your competitions?
Yeah, that's obviously another issue. Time and getting time off. They're a big, supporter, and they've helped me, and they're, proud. But also you need to be doing the work, and you need to be on top of that as well. So,
what's the first thing you do when you wake up?
have a coffee.
Weirdest DM you've ever received?
Oh, this could go on and on and on. I had someone ask me if they could. People said, "Oh, Sean, why are you getting annoyed at this?" Well, I just thought it was strange myself personally. So someone sent me. Now I've had worse DMs, but this is one I can remember. But someone said, "You wouldn't mind if I could send a picture of myself." This is a man, by the way. And could you pinpoint weaknesses in my physique? So he was going to send pop this picture.
I've had that before.
Yeah, I thought I've never had that because I'm not a P.
It's strange.
Yeah, but like out of nowhere, like I don't know this person. They just sent a message saying, "Could you pinpoint weaknesses?" I thought.
Do they have their shorts on or off?
I didn't open the message, so the follow up would have been obviously a photo, but I never actually opened it.
I usually get the photo. I've had that before. If you could have dinner with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
Probably got Muhammad Ali.
There you go.
Yeah.
All-time proudest achievement?
That's very tough. I'll probably say the Dublin race, or no, I'm going to say actually winning in Chicago.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
Have you a pre-competition ritual?
Yeah, I actually go for ice baths
Beforehand?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best time to use them.
Yeah.
That's gas. Where did you do that in Chicago?
I went for a cold shower when I don't have access to an ice bath, but in Dublin and in Glasgow, I believe I gained a good bit of time.
Yeah,
because
it's huge.
Yeah.
I used to do that. I lived in Portugal and I had an ice bath. Every time before I trained, I'd get in it and warm up, get back into it, warm up, like get moving. It was like better than any stimulant I've ever taken in my life.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What side of your life do what side of your life do your parents prefer seeing you in? Do they see the athlete or for your mum in this case, the athlete or the law side of it? Do they want you to be?
It's a good question. My mom obviously wants me to qualify, and that obviously proud. But I think now they're also like, to be honest with you, I could go back and work, 5 years down the line, where I can't go back and change.
Keep chasing the HYROX journey. Get your qualification.
Yeah.
Any fitness or health fad that you think is overrated?
I actually think zone 2 training is very overrated because people don't know their zone 2 training and they train in grey zones. Now, you need to build, I've spoken about this before, but you need to build an aerobic base.
Yeah.
But I think people overemphasize and they spend way too much time training in a too easy kind of zone.
Too easy. It's funny. That's a controversial one.
Yeah, it is controversial.
Because the modern Instagram post / research would suggest that people need to do more zone 1, zone 2 work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't disagree with that. If you're weak, do you think you're not doing enough zone 2 or you're not doing enough high intensity or a bit of both?
I'm not doing enough zone 2, that's for sure. But I know that, and I know what type of heart rate I need to and what type of volume. But I think people, they do a hard session and then they think they're overtraining. Like very few people will overtrain. That's the reality of it. And if you are overtraining, which does happen to athletes,
well, you under recover.
Exactly. But your body will give you feedback.
Yeah,
you'll feel it. You won't just go do one session and say, "Oh God, I need to rest for 2 weeks."
Do you do mixed modal zone 2 stuff or only single like modality like run, row, ski, bike, or will you do low level HYROX type movements as part of your zone 2 stuff?
Yeah, actually, very good question. I think that's been underrated big time.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think if you do zone 2, like for example, I coach a few people and I've programmed and I've said zone 2 wall balls and they're like, how'd you do zone 2 wall balls? Like you just do 5 wall balls or whatever, 10. Break. And eventually that becomes
6, break, 6, break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I actually think my wall balls, so I've gone and broken 3 times and a lot of my wall balls are very zone 2 based. I do 30 at 12 kg or whatever, but it's not hard. Yeah, that's a very good question.
If you look at the best CrossFit athletes from years ago, games winners and all the rest of it, they made high intensity work zone 2, zone 3, because they were able to, they were doing clean and press, they were doing wall balls, they were pushing sleds, they were running, they were doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they knew where their gears were, and they knew how to stay in gears. Because as soon as you redline on that stuff, it takes you a lot longer to recover to go again.
Exactly.
So learning how to do it, and I think that was such a good trick. I was very lucky to work with some people who were going to like regionals and stuff like that at CrossFit level, and that was the biggest thing, was building in mixed modal zone 2 work, which felt so strange because it feels too easy.
Yeah.
But that coupled with the other stuff is brilliant. Favorite station in a HYROX event?
Polar Farmers. I came first in the world in boat in Chicago.
You had to get that in there.
Yeah, I had to, but and I actually said it before I competed in. Someone asked me the same thing, and I said Polar Farmers.
Do you do a bit of upper body pulling? Like, because I saw you pull your pull video. You don't. There's something about it. I noticed you didn't look like someone who was under pressure and walking the full length of the box or anything. So I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
To be honest, what's your strength on the pull? Are you using your arms as well, or are you? All legs.
I think I get down low, and what I think I do differently to a lot of people is I squat down low, I walk back, and then I pull. What people do is they just walk, in the pro anyway, they just walk back. They don't get the second pull.
You don't get the second
So
pull.
I get to...
So you get to the end and pull finish, like a rower nearly.
Yeah. I'm going to say Farmers, Carrie, the answer.
Okay, there you go. There's the answer. Sorry. Guilty pleasure?
God, there's a lot of them.
Ice cream.
Oh yeah, ice cream. I'd say pizza. I love pizza.
Oh yeah, nice. If you could switch lives with any fictional character, who would it be?
Batman.
And have you got a party trick other than like being a HYROX champion? That's kind of a party trick.
I like to think I can sing.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Listen, Sean Noble, first of all, the quick fire questions were not written by me.
I know we're good though.
But it's good. It's good. A nice way to finish off what I have to say was one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had with a future world champion.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on it.
In the Elite 15. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you every success in the future.